Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where this week I've taken the show on the road to Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas for the QlikWorld conference, which is a global annual conference dedicated to the latest advancements of data integration and analytics. And one of the big trends here on the show floor is that everyone is talking about data everywhere, and the cultural shift within organizations to empower every team to discover how they can activate their data to drive their business forward. I'm not talking about just a BI team. I'm talking about every team, the development team, the finance team, HR, and beyond. So today I've invited Josh Good, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Qlik, to talk about some of the big announcements here and also some of the things that he's seeing and hearing from conversation he's having on the show floor. So we'll also talk about the market expectations, how they've changed in recent years, and how cloud data is now the strongest in the market. And for organizations, this means that their data will far outpace the growth of its workforce and puts data center stage as the primary driver for enterprise value. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Las Vegas, where I've just dragged Josh from the show floor to have a conversation with me today. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Josh. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Josh Good. I've been with Qlik for a little over a decade now. I actually started as a customer, and then I was a pre-sales engineer for a while, and then I spoke up too much and said, hey, we could do this at scale, and that I now run product marketing for Qlik.
And I was at not a briefing, I was at an evening, a night out last night, and there was a lot of stories similar to that, but it used to be customers that are now with.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's so compelling, right? And it's such an exciting journey we've been on over the many years. And, you know, I've been with Qlik for a long time because we keep reinventing ourselves. Things keep changing. You know, if I wanted things to be the same, I'd go into a racer manufacturing or something like that, right? You know, like I love the way things continuously change.
And obviously we're recording this at QlikWorld in Las Vegas at the moment. And for everyone listening, might be hearing about the event for the first time. How would you describe it? And also, what have you enjoyed most?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great conference where, you know, we bring together the entire Qlik ecosystem can come together, and we have over representatives from 50 different countries. So, you know, it happens to take place in the US, but it really is a global event. I mean, it's cliche, but what I've really enjoyed is like seeing familiar faces. And also like faces I know, but I didn't really know because I've only seen them on Zoom. There's a few people who I'm like, I know them pretty well, but their face looks slightly different because of the camera. And so that's been fun too. But then the excitement, I mean, you can really feel the excitement about what Qlik's direction is, the value that customers are getting, and the way that our customers' eyes light up when they talk about what they're doing. Like, it's really great.
Yeah. And that being on a show floor, you can't replace that, can you?
No, not at all. And the spontaneity things that happen are really nice.
And Qlik has been a leader in the BI and analytics industry for many years now. But I'm curious, how has the company evolved its offerings to meet the growing demand for cloud services over the years? What have you seen there?
Yeah, well, I've been part of a lot of the history, so it's been interesting how we, you know, I'm going to go way back in history. I like to remind people this. When Qlik started over 30 years ago, the internet wasn't invented, right? So like the original product that was built was built on this associative engine, it was a desktop tool. And it worked really, really well. It worked so well that it's still a key differentiator for us today. But we've moved through that change, and now we're a SaaS focused company. And when I was getting into analytics, putting a bar chart on a screen was super cool. Like it was amazing. And like now that's a pretty solved problem. And where Qlik's gone is while our core and our history was analytics, we've moved much more into the data and analytics space and the larger data pipeline, because you can't get your data and organize your data, acquire that. You need to be able to analyze it, understand it. And then the part that actually I'll say, if I have to pick the one I'm most passionate about, is the act on it side. Because, if you do all that work and you don't act on it, it's kind of like making a good meal and never eating it. So we now doing a lot more around application automation, where we're enabling our customers to really ensure that they act on the insights, then act on the value of the data they have.
And you mentioned that 30 years ago, it was all about the bar charts and things. But here in 2023, our boardrooms, I would imagine they've got higher expectations now. And do they want that data visualization? They want the figure brought?
Yeah, absolutely. The data visualization is brings it to life, but really it's what's happening underneath the layer that matters. Putting together a compelling, beautiful visual representation of data helps engage people, but it doesn't matter if they're just engaged and it's a thin facade of data. So the ability to interrogate that data, to ask unexpected questions, to use machine learning with it, and also to have an upstream pipeline that has governance, lineage, quality, trust with it is absolutely essential. And that's how, the evolution of Qlik has really gone over the past little year. And I'm Matt, you're going to ask me about talent, so I'll just go straight into it. I'll do your job for you, but but talent is we intend to acquire talent. We haven't closed that transaction yet. We're waiting for some regulatory approval. But that's part of that evolution of where data quality and the ability to bring data into an ecosystem is so important. And then you need to visualize it, and then of course the action. I've already given you my soapbox on action. I won't go there again.
As organizations continue to generate more data, how is Qlik ensuring that businesses can unlock the value in that data and use it to drive better decision making? Because one of the big themes on the keynotes here is data everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, data really is everywhere, and in some ways we have like a riches of data, and we really failed to use it. Like most data, we don't use. Finding the valuable data is really, really important. So being able to organize it in catalogs, being able to deliver it to where you need to deliver it and integrate it becomes hugely important. And then the other is really finding those insights in the data. And machine learning and AI is becoming a huge portion of that. And that's where 2/3 of our cloud customers are using AutoML. I know people love it, but I didn't know it's really, and then down on the show floor, I'm sure you've seen people are really interested in that because they see the big benefits of being able to use that data more effectively and understand it and have that prescriptive predictive analytics where it's telling you what to do with those insights and telling you what the outcomes are likely to be. So that's some of the ways that we're seeing our customers be able to use the data better.
So expanding on that big theme of data is everywhere and ensuring, one of the other things I'm seeing is it's ensuring that everyone within an organization is on the same page, not just a business analytics team. So can you discuss the importance of data integration, data democratization, and how Qlik is ultimately working towards providing greater access to data and analytics for more people within the organization and across the organization?
Yeah, we're seeing a move much more to how do we get more people involved in traditionally analytics and has been sold on a user model, which inherently limits that. And from feedback from our customers, prospects, and looking where we're going, we're moving much more to a capacity-based model where we will look at the data you need to analyze, and then we will enable the entire organization to have access to that data. So it's sort of flipping the paradigm on its head, and it's saying, hey, take this data and get the maximum possible value from it with the most number of people in your organization. And then on the data integration side, it's all about, being able to move that data to the right places, and you're adding sources and targets all the time. So whatever source you need, whatever target you need, we want to be able to provide that on top of that. And that's a really key thing about as we look at how we ensure that customers ultimately, I always say our goal is for people to come to us, give us a bunch of money, and then be super happy about it. And I really honestly mean that because we want to distill down so that our customers are getting incredible value out of what we're offering them. And, we have customers who are making major investments with us, and they're really, really happy about those investments because of the returns they're getting. And we want every customer to be like that.
I think traditionally, without cross teams across an entire organisation, there has been, people have been protective of their data in their particular team. So there needs to be a big culture shift. Are you seeing that culture shift and an acceptance that it needs to go away and we all need to be on the...
Yeah, the democratization, we mentioned that before, is we are seeing a big shift in that. And the challenge is that often there's you need to govern it this way, or you need to have everyone get self-service. What we believe at Qlik is, there's no right answer. Every organization needs the right amount of governance and the right amount of free access to the data. And it actually makes it easier and better for everybody. And as organizations evolve and different parts of the organization are doing different things, the answer is going to be different. And that's why we've built the entire platform to be highly flexible and scalable. So you have transparency in there, but you also have the ability to tell people they can't do things, tell people they don't have access to this data. So you want to have that balance between governance and self-service. And our best-in-class customers, what we ultimately see them doing is actually the business becomes the champion of the governance. Because, they're the ones who get the benefit. A well-governed system that works well and everyone understands the data and people know, the definitions, like in the glossary, you understand the definitions, things that have influence from the business, and business actually has ownership of those definitions. Then it's really easy for IT to say, yeah, everyone can have access. And that's where you get really great democratization. So it's kind of like you got to flip it on its head a little bit from what we traditionally think.
What are some of the key challenges that businesses face when transitioning to a cloud-based BI and analytics solution? And how does Qlik help them overcome these obstacles? Because I'm sure you probably hear a lot of stories here.
Yeah, it's been really interesting on how the evolution of cloud has happened. I remember actually even before the pandemic, I went down to Australia one year and I met with some banks and they were like, never, ever, ever going to the cloud, right? And then I went down the next year and they're like, this is our new CIO. His job is to get us to the cloud. And it was like once banking was moving over, we knew everyone had got the message. But knowing you need to get up the mountain is very different than getting up the mountain to your question. And so I think the really key thing is as you move to the cloud, do it incrementally, do it thoughtfully. But also understand that things are fundamentally going to change. Like, there's a bunch of technical things that are different. We take care of all the infrastructure. We take care of all the upgrades, which is great. But there's, organizations who are very used to, wanting to control that. And they get worried about, well, what happens if there's an upgrade and I don't want it or I can't have it. It's like, no, that's not, you don't have to even think about that now. So that's one part. And then there's the user side of getting the users over. So what we see, for our recommendation for customers is move the consumption first. So the consumption of the analytics, you can move relatively easy to the cloud because we use the same, the apps are the same underneath. So for the user, is really not much different. They go to a different URL. We have some more capabilities that will appear for them, but the core capabilities that they're already using stay the same. And then you start moving the data to the cloud underneath that. So that can be a nice transition for an existing customer of our software. And then the other is your analytics will move to your data gravity naturally anyway. So as your systems of record move to the cloud, your analytics will naturally move to the cloud. And what we're seeing with our data integration business is that other piece that perhaps still remains on premises, that needs to move up using change data capture. And then you get your data gravity moves to the cloud, and then you move naturally there. The last piece I'll talk about is security and compliance. Really important to understand, what security, what compliance you need to work with. At Qlik, we have a longer and longer list. I used to come and be able to list all of the certifications we have. I can't now, but we know, like, we're SOC 2, we're SOC 3. We can manage healthcare data in our cloud now, and making sure that you understand those things. And it's really been interesting to see that the security experts are talking about is clouds actually become lower risk. Like, remember way back, we talked about cloud being like a higher, people are like, oh, I don't want to go to the cloud. That's not safe. I'm going to keep it on premises. And actually on premises has proved to be a higher risk from the security perspective now.
It's interesting how that's flipped.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's the human side of things that tend to be that, it's easy for someone to, on a physical thing, to walk out with a thumb drive or to forget or leave something on the bus. When it's in the cloud, you can't leave the cloud on the bus, so.
Yeah, and another big topic here, predictably, is artificial intelligence, machine learning, generative AI. So how do you see the role of artificial intelligence and machine learning in the future of data integration, business intelligence and analytics? And how is Qlik actually incorporating these technologies into its product offerings? Because that seems to be where the buzz is right now.
Oh, no, I think it's a big fad. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No. Yeah, I mean, it is like AI is going to completely change our world. I believe that the industrial revolution, the computer revolution, and AI is, although it just feels like the extension of computers, this is going to be major. It's going to make it so much easier for people to do things and be more efficient at what they do. And that's going to be about in analytics as well. So that's the macro picture. Specifically to how things are changing for us is every single step of the data supply chain is going to get AI put into it. And we already have some of that in there. We can automate the creation of data marts. We can help you suggest data models when you're creating your analytics apps. Insight Advisor can suggest analyses that you can do. It interprets natural language. It puts natural language back out. And then we have our AutoML capabilities, which enable you to predict what's going to happen. What you'll see tomorrow, actually, and then maybe by the time this is out, it'll actually be up, is we're looking at other things like ChatGPT. And it's interesting there because those wide area models, they're consuming lots of data. And there's a very interesting security and thing around here where you're not going to take your corporate data and put it out in the world, but you kind of want ChatGPT to help you out. So that's going to be something we're going to have to reckon with. Our view on that is the lowest hanging fruit is use it to help you with your tasks, but you got to keep your data private. So things like finding new data sources or external data, helping you write expressions, complex things, suggesting certain analysis you should do with certain types of data. Those are the type of things where we see that'll get used initially. And then over time, it will evolve and there'll be ways to use proprietary data with it, but we're just not there yet,
And it is such an important conversation, isn't it? That so many businesses are putting all their data into ChatGPT.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing that some countries are just are just turning it off, and the governments are saying, but the cat's out of the bag. And I find I use it, and I find that it's a great assistant. But the other piece with this whole AI thing is humans are going to need to be more and more in the loop and understanding. And that's something we've talked about for many years now, about the human-machine interaction. And I think we're going to continue to see that is humans are going to continue to be innovative, out-of-the-box thinkers, and the machines are going to continue to automate things for you. And I'm finding that that's what I'm using AI a lot for now. It's I understand what I want to do, but I just need something to sort of help me. It's like my junior assistant.
Yeah. That's the best way of looking at it, I think. And finally, what can we expect from Qlik in the near future in terms of product innovation? And how do you envision business intelligence, analytics, data integration, that landscape? How do you see that evolving over the next few years? I appreciate I'm asking you to look into a virtual crystal ball, but what do you see?
It is a bit of a crystal ball, but I think that the trends are pretty clear. There's been a consolidation in the BI space, and pretty much it's like mega vendors who are, there's some mega vendors and they also do BI. And then there's Qlik, who's the only, independent vendor who does end-to-end analytics and does data integration. But we approach it quite a bit differently because we see this coming together. And instead of producing a good enough thing, we are competing at each stage of the pipeline. And while we do end-to-end, most of our customers also do other things as well. So we continue to see that trend there. So we have the best end-to-end platform, but we also work well with whatever else you're working with. And that's something that trend you'll continue to see from us. So what does that mean in terms of, people want to know, so what are you going to release? What's the software going to look like? So yeah, the teaser. So, the Connector Factory is a really good example of where we have a capability internal now, what we call a Connector Factory, which is going to enable us to put out over 100 connectors this year. So that's going to help us connect into the data you need, the data you need to bring in. With the anticipation of the talent acquisition and bringing talent into the fold, data quality, data movement, we're going to accelerate quite a bit around there. And then we see a lot more happening in the AI space as well, particularly in the predictive and prescriptive. We're going to continue to invest heavily in that space as well. So that's where you'll see quite a bit happening. And then the other piece, which is our cloud platform. I've talked a lot of different pieces here. What I do want to finish on is that this all sits in Qlik Cloud. So it is all connected. It all works together. It's a single platform, and it's all optimized so that you can use it together. But it's friendly to be using with whatever other else you need to use it with. So that's what I sort of see the future for Qlik as, and I think it's a really exciting time. I think that you can feel the energy here, and I'm thrilled for the future.
And you said you can feel the energy here, and you really can, and your passion for it really comes across. And one of the things that I hear people saying again and again, it's so good to be back on a show floor, meeting people face to face, sharing ideas, moment of serendipity with people you never would usually speak with. So I'm going to ask you now to finish. When you leave QlikWorld and you're on that plane ride home and you're thinking about everyone you've met, every conversation you've had, what are you going to be thinking about on the way home? What are you going to be taking back?
What am I going to be? I think the big thing I'm going to be taking back is the incredible customer stories. I'm just amazed at how many different ways our customers are using our technology. They're using it in the way we expected, plus in all these other ways. And that's the part that I really take back. I learned so much at these shows about like, oh yeah, we hadn't really thought that would, we hadn't thought about that. And like, I'm so glad you shared that. That's a really great piece. So I'm really excited that part of that learning about all the possibilities. Because while we have a lot of good ideas at Qlik, we don't have all the good ideas.
For anyone listening who wants to find out more about everything that's been talked about here, where would you point them to, the website?
Yeah, so you can go to Qlik.com and come to our website. If you're interested in our roadmap, Qlik.com/roadmap, we have that there. And I do know that the keynotes from QlikWorld will eventually be put online, so you'll be able to see those as well. And then the last thing I'd say is we have the Qlik Insider, which is where we give quarterly updates and send you out additional information, including regular updates on the product. So those are a few different things that you can pick and choose from.
Awesome. Well, I know how busy you are. Probably mounting up the steps here because there's a lot of walking involved, isn't there? I know how busy you are. So just thank you for taking the time to come off the show floor.
Thanks for having me. It was a great time.
So a big thank you to Josh again for taking the time off a very busy show floor. He's running around doing back-to-back interviews. So a big thank you to Josh for taking the time to join me on the podcast. And we talked about a lot of things there today. I think talking about putting company data into ChatGPT, that is an episode on its own. So there was a lot of big talking points, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Whether you're here at QlikWorld, whether you're a Qlik user, or if you've got something that you want to add to today's conversation. I'm conscious I don't have all the answers. You've heard from me. You've heard today's guest. Now I throw the microphone over to you and ask you to add your insights and expertise. And you can do that by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But as for me, I'm going to get back out there on that show floor and see if I can find us another guest. So thank you for listening as always. Hopefully you'll join me again tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.